Wonderful. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining me. If you're coming on live this evening, of course, if you're coming on the replay and you're watching this at a later time, just give me a hashtag replay so that I know that you've caught up, that you've caught this important live training tonight. I'm actually extremely grateful because today I actually had very scanty internet, and it actually ended up I had to pretty much rearrange my whole day because the internet was just dropping in and out, and it was just quite ridiculous. And there was a time where I was really bagging technology, and if it wasn't for technology, I wouldn't be able to deliver these live trainings. I wouldn't be able to connect with some clients that I've worked with well and truly far and wide, like on the other side of the world and in other cities. And I just had a moment of, what, like the internet, like it's really playing up today. And I found out that they are working on the tower, and that's going to be happening for the next week. So I'm probably going to have more problems. However, it's really stable tonight, which is great because they've probably finished work and gone home, and I'm not expecting any issues tonight. But it just made me stop and think how grateful I am for technology and for the evolution of technology, because if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be able to deliver this live training in this capacity from my home office. And, that's just amazing. It's just like next level. So I'm grateful for everybody in this group, and I'm grateful for everybody that I've been able to support. And my wish for you is that if you can get some golden nuggets from tonight's training and really feel into your own health picture and start to really connect the links within your own thyroid challenge, that would be amazing. So what I invite you to do is grab a pen and paper. Of course, I'm going to be prompting, if you want to interact in the live and drop some comments so that I can actually, get, set up a private meeting, of course, so that we can go through a few things for you. You're most welcome. But just for you, tonight is actually about you. And even though we're all in this group and, we probably know many people as well that have thyroid challenges, the one thing that is for sure is that the signs and symptoms that show up are extremely unique to the individual. So one person's fatigue is going to feel very different to another person's fatigue, even though one of the major symptoms is fatigue, whether it's hyperthyroid or hypothyroid. There's definitely the autoimmune etiology there that impacts that. And that is because of all the interconnections that our thyroid hormone has on our whole organism. And this is where, if you can kind of get an understanding of what the thyroid hormone does for us, whether or not, you could be subclinical, so you only have a few signs and symptoms. So wherever you are right now on a scale of 10, you may even want to give you, actually, drop in the comments on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being you are at your absolute finest, fittest, everything's going amazing with your thyroid health right now, everything's stable and you're absolutely thriving. That would be a 10. A 1 would be, you really, you may not even be able to watch this live. You're really in a poor condition, you're really fatigued, and, you're really up against quite a lot of obstacles at the moment, and you're at a loss of which way to go. That would be a 1. So, if you'd like to drop in the comments, where do you feel you are? Now, of course, it's all subjective and it's relative to you with how you rate your health in the past, because that's how we are able to, rank ourselves, is from how we felt in the past. So, it's not like a competition, so my 7 might be someone else's 10, or my 7 might be someone else's 4. Yeah. But it'd just be really interesting, because at the end of the day, health abundance and optimal health is your 10. So what we're after is we're after your 10. So whenever somebody comes to work with me and we form a partnership and we're working together on their health, what our common goal is to get their 10. So 10 out of 10 for optimal health. So yeah, just rank yourself, and then imagine what it would feel like if in, say, 3 or 6 months time, or even 12 months time, you were to get to that 10 and sustain that 10. And I'm a firm believer that once you understand what's going on in your body, you can start to actually really feel into where you can plug the gaps. Yeah, so of course we do functional testing so that we can find out more objective data. I'm a big fan of functional testing where it's warranted, because it just gives us more information. And when we've got more information, we've got things to work with. Yeah, we're not left in the dark. It's not a guessing game. And then of course we've got the fundamental pillars for thyroid wellness, meaning the physical. We've got the physical pillar, the mental, the emotional, and of course the spiritual realm as well. Like, all of that plays a role in living your best life and having optimal health. So naturopathy very much begins and starts off in that physical layer, because we really need to get you from A to B and really start to plug the holes in the bucket. So, if you're a bucket and there's water overflowing, when different dysfunctions are occurring in your body, I just call them holes in the bucket. So, we need to patch them all up so that you're actually feeling absolutely amazing. And and when you're actually able to link that, this sign and symptom is actually manifested in this, I'm just going to use the word disease. I actually don't like that word. And then you've got another dysfunction in your body as well. If you're then able to link that, actually the signs and symptoms are actually contributing to both dysfunctions and they are linked. So that's where you can really understand how important it is to really dig under the layers and fortify the foundations for your health and well-being, as well as working on the roof. We want to fix the roof, meaning, your imminent signs and symptoms, whether you're in an acute phase or whether you've got low chronic, like long-term debilitating signs and symptoms. So whatever that is for you, it's just important to work in both areas. We want to be strengthening those fundamentals and those foundations, while at the same time we're getting you from A to B in all the different areas. I hope that makes sense. Fantastic. We've got a couple of few people here. Amazing. Welcome. I'd love to know also, whereabouts are you from? I was just having a look through the group the other day, and I was thinking, oh wow, we've got some people all over Australia. We've got people from different states. We've got some local people here just around the corner from where I live, which is amazing. And we've also got some members that are overseas in the US. It might be the early hours of the morning there. So just drop in the comments, whereabouts are you from? I'd just love to know where everyone is from. Sometimes I'm unsure, with the time zones. But yeah, all right, so let's get on with it. So finding the missing links with your thyroid challenge, and the missing links that are sabotaging your thyroid wellness. So we're going to go through the root causes, the exacerbating factors that are impacting your thyroid, and I'm going to thread through some practical strategies for you to start to regain control and restore balance. Even if it's a little thing, and you may not even think that that's going to make a difference, over time, what happens is we compound on those strategies and layers, and that's what actually helps to build that strong resilience. All right, so first things first, I actually need my glasses on. Okay. I don't need the glasses to look at the screen, but I need it to read my notes. So I'm just going to leave them on. All right. So the thyroid hormone, it actually impacts and innovates. It's like an innovator and a regulator, or an initiator, I should say, and a regulator of every organ in the body and every system in the body. It has such an important role. For example, that's why we have congenital thyroid issues as well, because, during, even when the baby is developing, we need abundance of thyroid hormone because it's involved in growth and development. It's involved in regulation. It's involved in ATP production, or adenotriphosphate, which is energy. That's your energy. It's involved in all of those symptoms. And it has an impact on the receptors in your adrenals, right? So it has an impact on those receptors. So it has an impact on the transporters within the cell membrane, so that we can actually maintain the cellular physiology. Yeah, so when we're talking cellular physiology, we're talking energy production, we're talking detoxification, we're talking mineral absorption, we're talking just all of the little mechanics that occur inside a cell, because every single cell, the mechanics within that cell are obviously a little bit more simplistic to how our whole organism, but essentially we have like the nucleus, which is the brain of the cell, and we have the Golgi apparatus, we have the, all the other things. I can't remember them all right now, but I have to go back to my cellular physiology. But essentially we have all the matrix that occurs within a cell, within the actual cell. Every single unit within our body requires thyroid hormone. So it's no surprises then that there are seemingly unrelated signs and symptoms. So you can probably then understand that, when we have a low functioning thyroid, things slow down. So hence metabolism slows down. Our body's ability to break down the fat storage slows down. Our body's ability to build protein actually slows down as well. Yeah, so our heart rhythm and rate slows down. So, we're getting a slower heart rate. Our thinking and our thought capacity slows down. We may experience low mood or anxiety, just unstable emotions, overwhelm. Yeah, that type of thing. And that's really interesting as well, because, serotonin, the beautiful transmitter serotonin that we all love, is our feel-good hormone, our neurotransmitter, I should say, within the brain. And 90% of serotonin is actually made in the microbiome, in the gut. So then when I talk, and I've mentioned this in many other live trainings, when I talk about the seat of all health stems from the gut, it's actually also the seat of our mood regulation. So when we have digestive issues and gut dysfunction and intestinal permeability that lends itself to autoimmunity, and dysbiosis that lends itself to autoimmunity and also other digestive issues from gut infections or viruses or mold infections or yeast overload or bacterial infections, well, then it's no surprise that it's going to affect our mood. And we know, and it's been known and is quite evident in the scientific literature, the link between the brain and the gut via the vagus nerve, and that is amphoteric. So brain, for example, anxiety and unmanaged stress actually contributes to intestinal permeability, and at the same time, an issue or a digestive function issue will impact your mood. Yeah, so that's just mood. And thyroid hormone, as I've mentioned before, it actually has a role in every single system in the body and for cellular function. So I'm actually just talking a little bit about root causes here. So digestive distress and digestive dysfunction caused by bacterial overgrowth or dysbiosis, or pathogens such as parasites, blastocystis hominis has a very strong link with autoimmunity, thyroid autoimmunity. There's also your Epstein-Barr virus, your herpes cluster of viruses, which are extremely common within society. And, with some of these organisms, like, for example, the viruses, once you've sustained an infection, it actually stays in your body. It actually hides in the nervous system. And that's why, with stress, for example, let's say you have the herpes virus, with stress, you may sustain a cold sore outbreak. Now, you may be thinking, well, what's that got to do with thyroid? Well, there's this very strong link in the literature between the herpes virus and the Epstein-Barr viruses and autoimmune thyroid. It's a very well-established link. So, it's no surprise then that, when you suffer from stress, you may be having all of your thyroid symptoms, and you may also have some other symptoms if that is true for you. So not everyone has that as a root cause, but this is just one scenario where you could actually, within your, we're going to call it the web, within your thyroid web of signs and symptoms, you may link that. It's very common. In fact, Epstein-Barr virus affects, 90% of the population in teenage years because of the stress of HSC and all of that. So, and one of the big symptoms of that is swollen glands, and guess where that's located? All around this area. So, the thyroid is definitely affected. Some theories go as far as that, the Epstein-Barr virus never really goes away, and it's always impacting your thyroid gland. So through that, so what do we do about that? Well, first of all, be aware of that if that's true for you. And if you're unsure, you could certainly do some testing and clear that up pretty quickly, like find that out. And then there are certain foods that exacerbate that, and there are other foods that help maintain a healthy, healthy levels, or help eradicate that from the system. So if we don't know and we keep doing the thing, like, eating our chocolate, which actually I'm just talking about this example, but I've got so many more to go through, so I'll just quickly skirt over it. But chocolate contains arginine, which actually fuels that virus growth. Just if you're interested. And chocolate is also a go-to with hormonal imbalance. Who hasn't been there before? And low mood. So if you happen to have these types of signs and symptoms and that, well, you would be then, through your signs and symptoms, fueling the fire of the thing that's actually contributing to the exacerbating cause of your thyroid condition. So that's just one link. All right, so let's move on to some more. So weight gain. So weight gain, I'm also going to thread through cholesterol here. So the thyroid hormone impacts, as I mentioned, every system and every gland and every organ in the body. So it also has an impact on the gallbladder. And the gallbladder is a very important kind of accessory organ of the digestive system. It's linked to the liver. And we produce our bile in the liver, and then it drip feeds into the gallbladder. And then at the cue of digestion, it kind of squirts out and helps to break down our fats. It also helps to sequester cholesterol fragments within your digestive system to help burn them out of your body. Now, if you have low thyroid and your thyroid is not well managed and it's actually impacting your gallbladder, just as one symptom, it's going to create stagnation. So there is a definitive link between high cholesterol and low thyroid. Okay, so it would be through many other links. Of course, we need to always look at diet, and that's why I always work at those grassroots level, because there is so much we can do with diet, as well as picking up the pieces of the puzzle and supporting the gallbladder if that's a dysfunction for you. So think gallstones. Certainly if you've had a gallbladder removal, that's going to impact, because, instead of the squirt from the gallbladder into the digestive system at the cue of, chewing. Instead of that occurring, you're just going to have like a constant drip feed. So you're never going to get that major impact from bile, which is so important as a part of our digestion. So that's just another area. All right, so let's just go to some common themes now. I'm kind of talking about hypothyroidism at the moment, and of course, hyperthyroidism, for which the most contributing factor is Graves' disease, so the autoimmune link. Hyperthyroidism doesn't really occur except for through the autoimmune channel. So that's why, even though the symptoms of hyperthyroidism and the symptoms of hypothyroidism are complete polar opposites, except for fatigue, if there's an autoimmune etiology, meaning that's how it's manifested, a lot of the symptoms and root causes can be the same. It just depends on your genetics and, lots of other little intricacies that are unique to you as to whether it will manifest one way or the other. The other thing to note there is that thyroid can swing from Hashimoto's to hyperthyroid. Yeah, so that we'll talk about that in another live training, because that's quite a complex scenario, and it's to do with the autoantibodies. So Shell, if you can just take a note of that, autoantibodies, the swing from hypo. Shell's my beautiful admin helper. She's just amazing. So yeah, I'll get her to take a note on that so I can do a live training on that in the future. And while I'm on that, if you're interested in a live training that focuses on the digestive system, just write digestion, because I'm going to be going through all the different signs and symptoms today. But if you've already established some links with what I've discussed already, and you're curious to do a deep dive into digestion, just type digestion, and what we'll do is we'll pull out that past live training and send it across to your inbox, so that you can get what you need if that's what's in the forefront of your mind today. All right, let's move forward. So, okay, so thinning, I'm just going to go with some physical signs. So, like thinning hair, dry skin, if you can have sore muscles, if you can imagine if thyroid is low, you're not going to get the repair in muscle tissue. So therefore you're not going to be able to, and your liver is going to be impacted, so you're not going to be able to remove the oxidative stress from any exercise that you've done, if you've done quite heavy duty or tried to do heavy duty exercise. With thinning hair, that kind of lends itself to mineral insufficiency and oxidative stress. So oxidative stress, what that really means is unquenched free radicals floating around in your body. So we've all got them. It's not a defect, Basically, once the cell has undergone metabolism and done the thing that it needs to do, it has to throw off the waste material. And then that needs to be kind of quenched. We've got our immune system in there helping and doing their role. And then it needs to be cleaned up essentially by the liver and then the digestive system. So sometimes if our body is overwhelmed and our organs don't have the capacity, so for example, low functioning thyroid would be a very prime example for that, because it affects the functioning of our liver, our glycolysis, our ability to produce energy. And when we think of energy, I'm just going to jump into this now. When we think of energy, we often think about the energy that we're feeling, like we want that get up and go. We're not able to do the walk. We're not able to play with the kids. We're not able to sustain our workload. We often think of that energy, but it's also the energy required to actually keep you alive. It's the energy required for your cardiovascular system, all of the autonomic. So we've got sympathetic nervous system, we've got parasympathetic nervous system, and then we've got our autonomic nervous system. So our autonomic nervous system, that's the part of the nervous system that just operates without any input from us whatsoever. So for example, let's say we de-stress, we go to sleep, our heart is not going to just go, oh, yeah, she's asleep, so I don't know what to do now. I might stop. That's just not going to happen. So that is all governed by the autonomic system. And thank goodness, because otherwise we wouldn't be able to get any rest. Yeah, that's not really a very good joke. Yeah, so where am I heading with this? I've already lost my train of thought. Had a very busy day today with no internet. Okay, I'm going to come back to it. All right, so insomnia, low mood, digestive issues, as I've mentioned. So insomnia, so that can be a problem for hypothyroid or hyperthyroid, and it can also exacerbate stress and cause oxidative stress. That's what I was talking about. I was talking about oxidative stress. So if we're not getting enough sleep and we're not getting that really deep therapeutic stage 4 or phase 4 sleep, what happens is we go into sleep debt, and there's just more pressure on our organs, on our systems, on our body, especially if we're unable to rest. And it just contributes to the level of oxidative stress. And the oxidative stress tips off into inflammation. So I'm really talking specifically about autoimmune, which is very important because autoimmune, whether it's hypo or hyper, meaning Hashimoto's or Graves', whether it's acute stage or low-grade chronic, autoimmune and inflammation are the main causes. Wherever the inflammation has come from, that's the root cause. But the actual inflammation in your body that's occurring on a day-to-day basis because of your metabolism and your cellular processes and how well supported your body is, etc., how tapped in you are to your body to support your body, whether you know what to do for yourself, all of these things are so incredibly important. And, that's just going to really exacerbate the situation, which is why, for example, with insomnia, if you have chronic insomnia and you're not able to get that restorative sleep, many body systems start to fall down. So, for example, depending on what stage you're going through, like if you're, I don't know, puberty, pregnancy, menopause, the impact on your reproductive hormones will be huge with sleep debt, as well as stress as well, and many other things. But, like estrogen metabolism and estrogen alterations are very closely linked to thyroid. Absolutely. And that's why there are common themes. Like, for example, you may have heard of polycystic ovarian syndrome and fibroids, which are two manifestations of disease in the female reproductive system, and they are often partnered up with hypothyroid issues. It's not uncommon. And then we also look at infertility as well. And that's all because of the hormonal network because our hormones are communicators. They don't just sit in the one area of the body and have nothing to do with what's going on over there. And given that our thyroid hormone is required for every system in the body, of course, it's going to impact and be impacted by what else is going on in the body. Whether you've got, another issue like polycystic ovarian syndrome, another one is endometriosis. So all of these are to be factored in when we're looking at your whole health picture. So when a client comes to me, we don't just talk about the thyroid gland. I mean, of course, we focus in on that to see what's going on exactly, and that's really, really important. And of course, we look and dig deeper to see what's going on in terms of, root causes and all of that. However, I also look at what other issues are going on. Have any other disease processes manifested, such as what I've just discussed? And then we've got the lifestyle ailments like sleep, like poorly managed stress, And poorly managed stress, it's really, it's very, okay, the way you manage stress. So, okay, let me put it this way. One person's stress might be where another person thrives. So it's really unique to you. And I think stress is really important because, we talk about stress like it's just, oh, stress. But I think it has such a huge role to play in the manifestation of disease, of system breakdown. Because when you think about the stress response, you know, we need our cortisol. Flight, fight, sympathetic, initiates a reaction or a cascade, hormonal cascade within the adrenal network, and that throws up cortisol. Now we need cortisol. In fact, every time we wake up in the morning, a natural cortisol rhythm is for it to spike within about half an hour of us waking up, and that is completely normal. Which is why, if you've ever had a blood test in the morning to measure cortisol, just throw it in the bin. It's just pointless. Doesn't tell you a thing, right? But functional testing that actually does 4 points across the day, and then a fifth one if you wake up during the night, tells you everything because it gives you the rhythm. Yeah. So going back to stress, if the cortisol spikes, which is quite normal. When the cortisol spikes, which is quite normal, if it doesn't come down, so if you've got that many impulses within your body, whether it isn't about being the busiest, it isn't about having all these things on your plate or having nothing on your plate, because some of these stresses may stem from emotional trauma, from an unresolved past health issue, from deep layers of something from the past, like post-traumatic stress disorder. There are so many elements that contribute to the sustaining of high cortisol across the day. And cortisol, we do need, the reason why it shoots up under the conditions of stress is so that it can help us get away from the threat and help provide us with some, to help monitor our inflammation. Hence cortisol. You may have heard of the drug cortisone, which is anti-inflammatory. That's where it stems from. But unsustained, it actually breaks down our body. It really wears on our system. And in fact, poorly managed cortisol that spikes and stays up actually interrupts the conversion of your thyroid T4 to your more active thyroid hormone T3. So you might think, oh, okay, so if I've got hyperthyroid, well, I just get stressed and I'm going to slow down my thyroid hormones. No, unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. This is just one link in. However, stress also causes intestinal permeability, which could cause an impact on your immune system and cause inflammation, which is going to impact your thyroid from a completely different angle. So can you see how stress has two completely different impacts on two different areas of your body, all stemming from stress? And dare I say there are more. People who undergo significant stress suddenly have profuse hair fall. Okay, and these people that have profuse hair fall under significant stress may not necessarily have a thyroid condition, but during that time, oh yeah, their thyroid would have been impacted, 100%, absolutely, yeah. Because the thing is I'm just going to talk a little bit about the parameters on thyroid because I feel that it's really a good segue here. So with your T4. So we've got the hypothalamus, and then the pituitary gland, and then we've got the thyroid, and we've got this beautiful hormonal domino effect and beautiful negative feedback loop. One measures the blood, okay, a little bit too high, okay, slow down, okay, no, speed up. That's kind of what happens. It's like a loop, yeah. And it's when there's a break in different compartments of that loop, that's when there's dysfunction. And that's when we start to get little things like the rise of autoantibodies and the destruction of the thyroid tissue. So the rise of autoantibodies in the thyroglobulin, which, dare I say, are generally not tested. And so often the autoimmune link is picked up after the actual hypothyroid or hyperthyroid issue, which is an incredible shame, because if we knew that it was autoimmune prior, you would then have been able to go into that golden opportunity of really turning that ship around. Doesn't mean you can't do it when it's all manifested. It just means that it's in an acute stage and it warrants a delicate level of care during that phase to provide some stability for us to then really work at all the levels. We work at all the levels all the time anyway. But yeah, it's just, I think when we treat thyroid, we need to treat it differently depending on the level of whether it's acute, chronic, and that's why we need to get all of the facts. That's why we need to find out if there's an autoimmune component or not, and if there is, which autoantibodies are affected and what other inflammatory markers are impacted. So let me just go on to what I was actually going to say, and I didn't get there. So the T4 is the main, hormone. It's the pro hormone, and then that converts into T3. So the T3 is really the more active thyroid hormone in all of our periphery. So in all the areas in our body, okay? Whereas thyroxine is mainly produced in the thyroid gland and acts locally. It still acts in other areas, but mainly locally. When we are stressed, what happens is, instead of the T4 converting to T3, what our body does, because it's trying to protect us, our body cleverly shifts the T4 into reverse T3. So reverse T3, if you haven't heard of that, just write reverse T3, because if you haven't heard of it, it means it hasn't been tested. Now, we don't always need to test it. I don't always test it. However, I generally do a full thyroid panel for which it's included. But if it happened to be missed off and I know that that person is stressed, I know that the reverse T3 would be up anyway, especially if the T3 is bottomed out. So where do we work? We work at supporting the stress response, the oxidative stress, the internal stress, the external factors. Yeah. And then we look at all the ways that help to quench those free radicals and help build and fortify all those areas that help to manage that kind of turmoil that's going on in the body, so that we can bring down that cortisol, so that we can start to heal the intestinal membrane, so that we can help start to bring some regulation to your neurotransmitters. Yeah. So there are, and so that we can actually start to bring some normality, or bring you back into equilibrium with any other, like, female reproductive signs and symptoms, such as poorly managed or just exacerbated PMS, as an example, like premenstrual syndrome, as an example, because that is something that's also linked in. And the health of, if you're of this age, the health of your period is also a mirror reflection of what is going on in your thyroid as well. I mean, not just your thyroid, other things as well, the level of stress, what else is going on in your body. So that whole system is something that we look at, because it gives us a lot of clues. And, we don't just look at, sorting out the thyroid, we look at sorting out all the other areas in your body as well, because they're linked. And sometimes we don't need to do much. We just need to work at the grassroots level, the common big themes. And once we, provide some stability there, generally quite a few systems start to balance out. And often, like, especially in the beginning, of course, we may need a tailored supplementary protocol. So, I'm talking all the different naturopathic tools that I have available to me, many of which are backed by science, that have good clinical evidence at helping, get from A to B. Do we stay on these supplements for life? Absolutely not. That is not the plan. You know, the way I practice and the way I work with clients is a supplement should be for a defined period of time to really get you from A to B. Sometimes we keep it going as like a little bit of a helping hand, and that would more be if, you're working through things, but you haven't quite found the answers, or you're working toward, better responses to stress, if I can use that as an example, or you're working towards, crafting your dietary blueprint, but you still haven't worked out the food allergies. Yeah. So sometimes we need support while we're working on these deeper layers and deeper foundations. So I'd love some questions here, like ask any questions. I mean, do you have any weird signs and symptoms, things that some weird things, like suddenly you might get some rashes, or maybe you've got some psoriasis or skin issues, or you might just suddenly get some dizziness every now and then. Cold hands and feet, of course, and Raynaud's is also very, very linked to thyroid. That's an autoimmune issue as well. But just drop any signs and symptoms here if you're watching either live now. Just see if there's any questions. If you're watching either live now, or if you're watching the replay, just drop any different signs and symptoms, because there are so many, and if I haven't mentioned them, I can then come back in the chat later on and discuss, the links with that. Okay, so this has actually turned into a very long live training. So, and I'm not even halfway there. So I'm going to just try and wrap it up really quickly. Yeah, I think we'll keep it there. So I've kind of focused on some main areas. Having said that, there are so many more. I'm just going to go through them now. We've got, indigestion, heartburn, Helicobacter pylori, absolutely linked. We've got flu virus, COVID-19 vaccine. Now, I've mentioned this in another, I think I did a quick, short live once. I will be doing a live training on that, because there is so much evidence pouring through as that vaccine, not all of them, but the Moderna in particular, and there was a couple of others that are actually have triggered autoimmune thyroid issues. So dare I say, maybe the flu vaccine has as well. Now that doesn't mean it's going to trigger everyone, because we all have a different genetic makeup. Yeah. However, that may be true for you. So then we would then address your thyroid condition in a very different way. Okay. Infections are huge, whether it's viral, bacterial. Hey Susie, great to see you. I hope you're feeling better now. Yeah. Okay. Iodine deficiency, it's a big one, and iodine deficiency is very common in Australia. Having said that, we need to be careful. It's what I call the Goldilocks mineral. Yeah, a little too much is a problem. Not enough is a problem. And iodine is required in all of our beautiful reproductive organs. It actually helps protect us from cancer. It helps prevent cysts and little growths and lots of little things like that. So we just want micro units, just a little bit. So, we look at threading that through in a very minute way, but in a consistent way. Heavy metals, big impact on thyroid and autoimmunity as well. And, I did a live training on environmental toxicants a couple of weeks ago. It was a masterclass. If you're wanting that, just write environmental and we'll shoot that across to you. We did a deep dive in all of the different toxins that you can come across in our environment, which actually cause oxidative stress. So that's, and heavy metals through that as well. We've got our genetic makeup as well. And I think I'm just going to leave it there, because we're getting close to an hour. We're almost on for 50 minutes. So what I'd like to suggest now, if you've found some links, if you'd like to drop them in the comments, absolutely drop them in the comments. Or if you've got some different weird signs and symptoms that you feel may not be related, but they probably are, just drop them in the comments and I'll come back to you. So that would be good, just so I can make sure that you're being fully supported and that I've covered everyone's, little idiosyncrasies that we all have in our body, because we're all very unique. And if you would like a deeper conversation, and you actually have been, you've had all this going on for way too long, and excuse me, and you haven't had the support and guidance so far, and you're ready to actually heal and get to the bottom of all of your links, or actually create the links of all of your signs and symptoms so that you can have a tailored plan that is step by step, that is specific and bespoke to you over a period of time, let's say 3 months. So if that sounds like you and you're ready to get to the bottom of it, whether or not you're taking medication or not, because I'm telling you now, medication can only do so much. It's just bringing in a synthetic hormone. It still needs to convert to T3. We still need to plug the holes in the bucket that are actually causing the issue in the first place. We still need to address the autoimmune element of what's going on in your body. We don't have to, but in my opinion, we still need to address all of that for you to actually get the health abundance that you deserve and for the longevity in your life, with this condition, and to hopefully bring it into remission, or even improve it to such a way that you're not being impacted on a day-to-day basis by the debilitating signs and symptoms that you may be experiencing. Okay, so if that sounds like you, I'd like you to type the word heal, H-E-A-L, and I'll get in touch and we can just set up a call and we can just have a brief chat, a quick chat about what you're looking for, what your main challenges are, and what you would like to achieve. And we can just have a discussion and go from there. And whether it's a good fit or not, I'm here to serve those who are ready, and I'm here, that this is my passion, this is my purpose, this is what I'm here for. I'm not going to be doing anything else. I'm not going anywhere. I'm very grateful and thankful for the internet so that I can reach everybody, which is absolutely amazing. And if you're ready to just get some clarity with your thyroid challenge, just drop the word heal and let's connect. All right, that's it from me. Have a beautiful evening, and I will see you next week. Bye for now.